I'm going to start with a moment most people will never see, and if they do, they'll pretend they didn't feel it in their chest. The exact second when 200 strangers stopped breathing at the same time. Ever seen silence arrive like a miracle after 3 hours of screaming at 35,000 feet? Ever watched a billionaire hand his baby to a kid from the back of the plane because nothing else worked? Yeah, that happened. 3 hours into a transatlantic flight, first class looked like money and sounded like disaster. Warm towels, quiet lighting, clinking glasses, and my daughter Emma howling like she'd swallowed a siren. I had tried everything: bottle burp, diaper, the legendary shoulder hold, the figure 8 bounce, even pressing my noise-canceling headphones against her tiny ear like Beethoven was going to negotiate with a 6-month-old. Nothing. The flight attendants were kind, the way people are kind. When the storm isn't in their house, passengers were doing that polite performance of patience that's really just judgment with nice shoes. If it were you, would you have glared, offered to help, or kept your head down and prayed someone else would handle it? I'm Richard Whittaker. On paper, I run Whittaker Technologies' $8 billion market cap AI and machine learning, whatever headline you'd like to pin on a man in suit pants and an overconfident itinerary. In that moment, I wasn't a CEO, I was just a dad who couldn't decode the one voice that mattered. My wife was back home recovering from emergency surgery. Our nanny bailed with food poisoning. My board insisted the London meetings couldn't wait. So I did what the overprepared always do. I told myself I could handle it. The universe smiled and said, "Sure, let's test that." The cabin had started to turn on us in small ways. The heavy sigh from 1A, the performative wrist check at 1C, the socialite in 3E. Typing a caption with the kind of speed you only get when you want the world to agree with you. "Some people have no consideration," she told her assistant loud enough for me to hear. "You know what I mean, those words that act like a match near dry grass." Then he appeared. A teenager 16, maybe, wearing a jacket that had seen more weather than wardrobe changes, backpack, patched with silver duct tape, eyes steady like he'd learned to read a room before it read him. He stopped beside my seat, and when he finally spoke, his voice went under the noise like a river runs under a bridge. "Sir, may I?" That's all he said at first. Then my sister had colic. I learned a few things that helped. "I can try if you want." I didn't have room left for pride. I shifted Emma into his hands and felt the plane lean toward us. He held her like he'd studied the way pain moves through a small body, one hand supporting her neck, the other drawing slow circles up her spine, gentle pressure, steady rhythm, performative shushing, no frantic bounce. He hummed a tune I didn't know. Not nursery sweet, older than that, like something a grandmother passes down without sheet music. Emma's fists unfurled her shoulders, softened the string, in her cry loosened, and then it happened. The sound that felt like a miracle. Silence. People looked up like they'd witnessed a magic trick and were deciding whether or not to applaud. The socialite lowered her phone. The man in 1A sat forward with a look I'd last seen in boardrooms when someone solved a problem no one else could touch. I whispered, "Where did you learn that?" He said, "My grandmother," then added, "My name is Noah." He was calm in that way. Real competence is calm. Not a performance, not a bid for credit, just work being done well. Here's the truth. I almost hate saying out loud. My first glance was through all the wrong lenses. He was young, he was black, he was from the back of the plane, and he just did what money couldn't. If it were you, what would you have seen first, the miracle or your assumptions? When he shifted Emma back toward me, she stayed quiet, eyes open, trusting the world again. His backpack was covered in math competition patches, his notebook thick with equations like a secret language. "Where are you headed?" I asked. London, he said, international mathematics competition, hoping for a scholarship. He didn't say it like a plea. He said it like a map. We landed to London rain and the smell of jet fuel and coffee. My calendar signaled crisis disguised as opportunity. Boardrooms, partners, a potential European expansion. My daughter's schedule didn't care. Nap bottle, nap meltdown. Somewhere between my ego and my exhaustion, a new thought presented itself. Noah, I said I need help for 5 days and you need space to study. 500 a day, adjoining room, full respect for your competition schedule. No strings, no weirdness. You set boundaries. I follow them. He looked surprised, not at the number at the trust. Sir, I can help, but I can't lose focus. This isn't just for me. My community helped pay for this ticket. I nodded. The competition comes first. Period. Also, the Whitaker Foundation funds students from underserved communities. Separate from me, different board clean process. We can talk, only if you want. He gave me a small nod like he was filing that away to study later. The Langham lobby glowed like a chandelier had learned to breathe. Noah stood very still for a second, not dazzled, just calibrating. Pride is a quiet thing, and sometimes it looks like refusing to apologize for where you stand. I showed him his room. Clean lines, Hyde Park out the window bathroom like a spa he'd never asked for. He touched the door frame, then turned. Mr. Whitaker, why are you being generous to a stranger? I checked Emma's bottle on my wrist, the way my wife taught me, and told the truth. Because you stepped in when you didn't have to, and you did it with care and skill, because I grew up far from here, factory town in Detroit, and strangers made space for me when the map wasn't built for my feet, because help can be dignity if we hold it right. He studied my face like an equation, nodded once, and we began. Day 1 of competition, Royal Institution. Marble and history, and the hum of minds warming up. Noah walked into a hall of prodigies and did what strong students do. He made the auditorium smaller than the problem in front of him. Number theory combinatorics applied puzzles that wrapped mathematics around real-world constraints. He came back to the hotel looking electric and emptied at the same time. I think I did well, he said, and it meant he'd poured everything he had and still respected his competitors. You were invited because you have value, I told him. Don't forget why. Emma banged stacking cups together like applause, and he laughed, showing her a simple pattern, red, blue, yellow, green, her eyes tracking like she knew exactly what he meant. Pattern interrupt. A ping on my phone. Not email. A video. Grainy vertical uploaded mid-flight. Teen from coach grabs billionaire's baby. The caption screamed. The poster was the socialite from 3B. Comments multiplying like weeds, words like irresponsible and security risk, eating the nuance line by line. And then the one that drew blood. A board member of mine, the man from 1A, chiming in with a prim little remark about boundaries. Reputation moves faster than truth now, faster than planes, faster than good sense. By lunch, my assistant texted that our London partners were concerned about optics. Here's the twist. It wasn't just online noise. The hotel called. Polite, professional, precise. There were questions at the door. About the young man. Someone had reported an unauthorized person occupying a premium floor. Security stood in the lobby like a punctuation mark, not aggressive, just enough presence to shift the air. You ever feel rage sharpen into something surgical, not loud, just exact? I took the elevator down, looked everyone in the eye, and spoke clearly enough for every camera. There seems to be confusion. Noah is my guest. He saved my daughter's comfort, and if I'm honest, my sanity. If anyone has an issue with his presence, they can take it up with me directly. my investors included. Silence again, a different kind, the kind when a room checks its values and realizes they're out of tune. Upstairs, Noah kept his voice low so he wouldn't wake Emma. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't. I said you revealed it. Do you think that's fair? The way suspicion knows who to choose. If a prep school kid in a navy blazer had stepped up with the same hands and the same heart, would the headline have been hero instead of risk? Day 2 team round. Japan, Germany, Brazil, Chicago. The brief was to optimize city traffic patterns under unpredictable stress, the kind of math that looks sterile until you remember it moves ambulances and school buses and paycheck hours. Noah talked about people inside the equations. Weather sirens, pickup times, how one blocked intersection becomes a whole neighborhood story. At first, his teammates treated it like a charming aside, then they realized it was the missing dimension. The judges noticed. Leadership doesn't always look like volume. Sometimes it looks like building a bridge between theory and the ground it has to stand on. But rumors run fast when someone starts winning. A whisper slid through the hall that Noah was being coached by me, that my company's tools were tipping the scales. A judge with a stern mouth pulled him aside. He didn't flinch. He asked for a whiteboard and said, "Give me an extra problem, no devices. I'll solve it in front of you right now." He did clean lines, elegant steps, not showy, just true. The judge tried to keep his face steady, ended up nodding like he'd just remembered why he loved math in the first place. Mini call to action. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. And that evening, with London blinking outside and room service doing its best impression of comfort, I put it on the table. Noah. I see a division we haven't built yet, one that uses math and AI on problems that look like your block, not just my balance sheet. Educational deserts, neighborhood, health, transit, dead zones. My foundation will fund your education all the way through if you want. Undergrad, grad, whatever you need. No press release, no parade. But I won't pretend there are no strings. The string is this. One day when you're ready, you use what you know to build something that gives the next kid a path you didn't have. He stared at a sweet potato fry like it was an oracle, then said, "Mr. Whitaker, I can't be anyone's photo op. I don't want to be the kid a billionaire saved. I want to be the person who built something because he was trusted and prepared. If your offer lets me do that, I'll accept. If it turns me into a story that makes someone else feel good about themselves, I can't." That right there, that's the line most people never draw out loud. I told him to hold me to it. Final day, open-ended round. The prompt asked competitors to model and interrupt the spread of disease in dense cities, which is another way of asking, can you make math serve human beings without flattening them? Noah started with a network model, sure, but then he added something I hadn't seen, a feedback loop labeled community trust. He talked about bus routes and clinic hours, school hallways and church potlucks, how an algorithm that optimizes the curve but destroys cooperation fails where it matters. He asked the judges a question that sat down in the center of the room. What if the best solution on paper breaks the very relationships that make a neighborhood resilient? He presented, stepped back, and the judges exchanged that look professors get when a student joins theory and lived reality without tearing either. The ceremony tasted like electricity. Third place to Germany, second to South Korea, then the pause that feels like a held breath. In first place, representing the United States, Noah Simon. He walked to the stage the way I want every kid to walk through at least one doorway in their life. Upright, shocked, completely themselves. When he turned with the trophy, I swear Emma clapped like she'd negotiated the whole thing from the bassinet. Back in the suite, we celebrated with sparkling cider and a chocolate cake that begged to be a metaphor. Noah set the trophy down like it was fragile and said, "I'm grateful, but I need to say this while the room is still small. If we work together, I need the power to say no. I need you to listen when I tell you your idea is great for headlines and bad for people. I need the scholarship without the shadow. Can you do that? I said yes because I meant it, and also because I knew the only way to prove yes was to live it. Pattern interrupt. The London partners who had been concerned about optics sent a note that sounded like a legal disclaimer trying to learn manners. They were back in. Not because the ugly video vanished, it didn't. But because I made a choice in public that startled them, I put a person over a deal and the deal got stronger anyway. It turns out people still respect leaders who act like people. You know what I mean? We flew home under a sky that looked like brushed steel. At Heathrow, one of the flight attendants from the first flight found us by the gate. I saw the video, she said softly. Then I saw the truth. I just wanted to say, I'm proud of both of you. Noah smiled with that small exactness of his. Emma wrapped her fingers around his thumb, like she'd found her anchor again. And for a second, the airport felt like a neighborhood. So here's where we landed. Noah accepted the scholarship he earned outright. My foundation created a fund in his name that only moves when he says it should. When he needs travel or research money for other students from his side of the city, he directs it, not me. He sends me problems sometimes, not equations questions. How do we make internships that don't just pluck the top kid and leave the rest behind? How do we write grants that count dignity as an outcome? If you were me, what would you do? And me, I changed my calendar. We're building that division I talked about slowly with people who know the ground better than I do. It's messier than a press release would ever allow. It should be messy. If a solution looks too clean from a conference stage, it probably leaves someone outside in the rain. Let me end where the argument lives, because every good story should leave you a little unsettled. When help crosses lines of class or race or power, what keeps it from turning into charity with a selfie stick? Where's the line between opportunity and ownership, between mentorship and control? And on a smaller scale, if you'd been in 3B with your champagne and your peace and quiet, what would you have done when a baby cried like the world was ending? Filmed it or looked for the person who could help? Do you think that's fair, the way we decide who deserves grace and who deserves a headline? If this story made you angry or hopeful or both at the same time, tell me. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me who stepped in for you when it counted. Or confess the time you misjudged someone because of how they looked, or where they sat, or what you thought you knew. Share this with someone who needs the reminder that a quiet act done for no credit can still move a mountain. If you think I got this wrong, say that too. I'll be in the comments reading, arguing, learning. Stick around, because the next chapter isn't a video, it's what we build after the credits.